The next speaker up will be Paul Blankley from Zenlytic. So I'll welcome Paul to the stage. Welcome, Paul.
Hello.
Howdy.
Happening.
All right. And with that, I'll turn things over to you, Paul.
There we go. So I will be presenting Zenlytic today. Zenlytic is an intelligent analytics product that takes basically your experience of data and the kind of questions you can ask of your data and makes it actually intelligent, makes it able for it to answer the business questions you have, not just something that sounds very much like a SQL query. So I'll be presenting that today, but that's the background on Zenlytic. We're an intelligent analytics platform. So with that, I will just hop right into our product demo. So then I can use Analytic in a few ways. So the first way right here is I'm just going to ask Zoe a question. I really like our audio input, so I'm going to use that. Hey Zoe, can I look at total gross revenue and can you look at that year to date and then maybe compare it to the last year to date? And can you break it out by the product type? So now I can just sort of give Zoe some instructions on generally like what I want. Zoe's first going to look across my organization's context. And this can be anything from not a lot of context on top of the actual tables to some of the base definitions for Zoe to use. So in this case, Zoe says, "Hey, I'm going to use total gross revenue." That's actually a real concept, not something that she's sort of guessing at on the fly. And that's really important. That's one of the reasons why Zenlytic is easy to use, is that both in the text here and on the actual query that Zoe's running, I can hover over the different elements of the query that she's doing to better understand what she's using and see how this is calculated. So, for instance, in gross revenue here, I can see, okay, well, this is revenue from product sales plus shipping. That's how this is calculated. And this is something that the same calculations that are used in these results that Zoe shows you are the same calculations that show up in the dashboards as well. So you don't run into those same problems of, oh, wait, I got this number from the AI thing and I got, a different number from the dashboard. So Zoe's always able to explain to you with date ranges, with different references to the columns that she's using, exactly what she's doing to pull the data that you wanted. So now, I can of course see this result. I can see the different comparison that I asked about. The other thing I can do here is I'm not limited to just asking the AI system to change its result. So, for instance, I could come in here and say, well, maybe I don't want gross revenue now. I want to see what net revenue is. It's actually a lot faster for me just to click on this and say, well, let's look at net revenue instead of gross than it is for me to just ask the AI system. So, just a one click there. And then I can just tell it, hey, yep, that's what I want as my next step. It'll go and immediately run that. So you can very seamlessly go back and forth between directing it to do something in the UI or selecting a date range, and between just asking the system in natural language what you want to use. So that's one flow. This flow is one that's valuable and happens a lot. But one thing that I do want to say is that this question is very structured. This question, and you'll see this in most of the demos for these type of products similar to us, is that the question is very structured. I'm asking for total gross revenue. That's a real concept. I'm asking for product type and year to date, and that's all very sort of concrete things I'm asking about. One of the big value adds that we can add as Analytic is not just answering very straightforward questions like this that corresponds to very concrete things, but the ability to answer these open-ended questions that you know could have a bunch of different answers and don't really have a well-defined, this is exactly what I'm looking for kind of answer. So now let's look at that, because those are maybe the more interesting of the questions we can ask. So when I come in here again, I'm going to try the audio, and I'm just going to sort of word vomit some of the thoughts here. So the perspective I'm coming at this from is, I'm a marketing manager, just onboarded to this company. I don't really know what's going on yet or where my data is. So I can say, hey Zoe, I just recently started at this company as a marketing manager. I've got a meeting with the CMO in 10, 15 minutes, and I don't really know what data we have for campaigns and channels and how we measure marketing performance. So could you just help me understand how, like, what's available to measure campaigns and channels and how we do that? And my end goal here is to try to understand which campaigns and channels are performing the best and where I should spend more of the ad budget that we've got. So here I just sort of gave Zoe a ton of information. This wasn't super specific. I didn't really know what to ask about, but Zoe still is able to help me. So she's able to say, okay, great. Well, I looked at all of our marketing info, and this is what we've got. We've got return on ad spend. Okay, that's efficiency. We've got marketing spend. Obviously, just marketing spend. Cost of acquisition. That's CAC. Yep. Okay, great. So this is really helpful. I have an idea now of what's available. I didn't before, and I didn't really know where to look. But now I can say, okay, well, this is maybe something a little bit clearer that I can dig into. That's great. What I really want to understand is I want to understand which of the channels are performing the best in terms of, I guess, return on advertising spend and cost of acquisition. And then for whichever channel is performing the best there, I want to see which of the campaigns in those channels are performing the best. And then I want you to give me a nice, clean, textual summary of which campaigns are the specific campaigns that should be allocating more budget to, and make a good case for this. Again, here I'm just giving it this very sort of general kind of prompt. I want it to kind of walk me through the analysis, and it's going to be able to go through and say, okay, great. Well, let's look at cost of acquisition and return on advertising spend here. Again, I'm able to hover over these if I ever wonder, hey, how is this defined? What do these things mean? And it's going to be able to pull this data for me again using my standardized metrics here, and say, okay, Facebook CAC is like 8,000, paid search 10. Okay, recognize that Facebook is my best performing channel there in terms of CAC and return on ad spend, and then it's also able to do that next dive of going deeper into the campaigns and saying, okay, well, these are different campaigns, this is how they're performing. Um, and then finally, it's going to be able to synthesize all this information for me so I can have a really clean, clear result. So at the end of the day, right before my meeting with my CMO, I can say, okay, my best performing channel is Facebook with return on ad spend of 5.49, CAC of just under 8,000. And then within that, I've got um, top sellers as a slightly better ROAS and a slightly better CAC. So that's maybe the specific campaign that I want to allocate more budget to. So now I can come to my CMO, not just with some data that I had to figure out what to do beforehand, but I can actually present my problem I'm trying to solve to Zoe, and have her come in and help me get to the bottom of solving that problem, not just pulling some specific data for me. So that's one of the things that we view as the sort of unique value that Zoe is able to provide. The other thing that's really helpful with Zoe is that all of this is integrated inside of Zenlytic, broadly speaking. So for instance, right here, I could say, can you add both of these results to a new dashboard for me? Call it my like marketing performance dashboard. And this is going to help me just say, okay, I got a result that's really helpful that I can use ahead of my meeting. But Zoe can also create a dashboard for me, and that dashboard I can then schedule to have delivered every week on Monday or something. So I don't have to come in and re-ask the questions. I can make use of a lot of the business intelligence kind of constructs that I'm used to, and have this dashboard just available for my use whenever I want. And then from any of the components on the dashboard, I'm able to come in, click these three dots, and say, hey, maybe I want to look at this by itself in a UI. Maybe I want to ask Zoe a question about this. Maybe I want to download the data as Excel. That's a very common one, as you may expect. And this gives me the interoperability to be able to hop in and out of asking Zoe questions versus being able to explore in a graphical UI, versus being able to start a question from Zoe when I don't really know where I want to land. So that's the overview of what we're doing at Zenlytic, and would love to take any questions that anybody has. Yep. So one question from David here. If you see Zoe is using the wrong field, so estimated versus earned, can you swap that out manually, or is that something that you have to ask her for? So you can do either. You can actually ask Zoe to do that herself, and she's able to find the other field and swap that out. But in the UI, you can also just click that field and say, hey, I want to turn this, estimated versus earned revenue, and swap those out. or add other things to the analysis. So it's easy to drive both from the UI or from asking Zoe questions, depending on what's easiest for you to do. Great. And with that, thank you everybody. I'll be on for a little bit. If anyone would like to see a demo of Zenlytic, please just comment Zenlytic demo in the chat here, and someone on our team will reach out to you. Would love to show you more about what we're working on. Yeah,
Excellent.
great question from Robert. If I can answer that
Sure, absolutely.
in the last minute, Brian. So how long does this take to deploy? So the deploy process is always pretty much iterative. You're able to go in, you're able to select tables in your data warehouse. We'll import those tables, and instantly those are available to Zoe. You can start asking her questions, and then as you ask her questions, she's able to help you create those reusable, like measures, dimensions, calculations, and then she'll reuse those calculations. So initially, she'll just come in, she'll guess, and she'll say, okay, well, it seems like the sum of revenue is what they mean when they say gross revenue. You can go in and you can edit that, and you can say, actually, no, it's the sum of revenue plus the shipping minus the discounts with this other adjustment factor. And then once you save that, Zoe's going to be able to see that context and then reuse it. So initially, you can get started really fast, answer some questions with Zoe, and then as you use it, you're able to give it additionally more context. So it learns with your business, and it understands the nuances of revenue calculations are not usually just sums.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. It was a great presentation. Yeah, and as Paul mentioned, if you guys want to either click the call to action below or comment in the chat if you'd like a demo. Excellent presentation, Paul, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.